Welcome everyone back. It is another podcast. It's number 188. We got Robbi, Jade, Lou in the building. And of course, this podcast is brought to you by ClubGG, where you can create clubs for free, play with your friends, and win hundreds of thousands of dollars in prize money monthly. With that said, Robbi, thank you for being here. 2 days in a row. We got to do the GG Millions yesterday. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. I'm glad that we were able to squeeze this in before you go head out to your trip. Had a lot of fun with you yesterday on the GG Millions table, and I'm happy to have more discussions.
Yes, absolutely. Look, I know you've done a lot of podcasts. You've been a hot topic in GPI awards, and everyone in the world, I feel like, knows you, whether it's poker or otherwise. So you've had quite a busy year. And I remember in the time it happened, you did all these different shows, and I was just kind of observing, seeing whatever. And I'm glad we got to connect and, again, talk about, there's a lot. I know you have a lot going on. So I want to know more about you as a person and what you got going on. So maybe just give me your whole life in a minute. Tell me about where you're from and how you got into poker.
I was actually born in Saudi Arabia. We moved to actually New York to start with, and then worked our way to Northern California, which is where I grew up. And then I went down to school at UC Santa Barbara and ventured into getting my MBA at Pepperdine, but I got the job of my dreams at that time with the biggest biopharmaceutical company. And I just worked my way up the ladder, moved from company to company until I finally got my dream job, working as the head manager of a hematology oncology company focused on a brand new method of delivery for a blood cancer. I don't want to get too specific or nerdy about it, but it was called CAR T therapy, and it's still running, and it's potentially almost a cure for multiple myeloma and lymphoma, which is one of the more difficult blood cancers to cure. So I think that around April 2022, I was around 15 years of having been in this career. And I just decided to take a sabbatical. The pandemic primarily was kind of what motivated that intention. And it was because, we were sitting in closed, confined walls within our homes and really only allowed to be with our loved ones or anybody around, family members. And it just got really tiring to talk about the pandemic and the political structure surrounding it. So it was just something we kind of sat at dinner one day and I'm like, do you guys just want to play poker? I taught my parents how to play, my sister and my brother and his girlfriends and all of them, they already kind of knew how to play. And so it became a very regular thing. And I was kind of going to private games. I don't want to say too much. We were all trying to be very safe at the time, of course, but you need to get out and get some fresh air or see another face or two once in a while. And poker was really that, I guess that avenue and that release for me at a time that felt very constricted and confined. And then I was running a podcast with one of my buddies that kind of blew up. I don't know if you're familiar with Clubhouse. And it was a podcast really focused on doing the things you love, because now we have the time to do what we love. It was called Enter at Your Own Frequency. And for us, we realized there's so many people that, whether most people don't love their jobs, but it was an opportunity for them to do what they loved at the time. So we all wanted to talk about what that was for everybody else. For some, it was an emotional journey. They were meditating more. They were focusing on self-development and growth. And for others, it was really just taking an extra amount of time to play more tennis or, make more art, whatever it was. They were doing things that turning their hobbies more into a regular everyday situation. And so for me, poker became an everyday thing. And I realized that I loved it. There was a poker community on Clubhouse that loved it. And we all decided as a bucket list thing to go to the World Series of Poker as soon as it opened up. At that time, it wasn't going to be running that summer. And so on the summer of 2021 is actually the first time I went to the World Series of Poker. And it was really my first tournament. I was playing cash and I just got this really deep desire for tournament play because I recognized the competition behind it. And growing up, I was always very competitive. I played high school sports. I even started in college sports. I was a big lacrosse player. And so when I saw this competitive meets this poker game, but I had this growing love for, I was like, this is awesome. I can actually technically compete in what some people refer to as a sport. It's not really obviously an action sport, but it is a mental sport. And I just thought of it as a challenge that I really wanted to not overcome, but be a part of. I love a good challenge. For me, it's very thriving, a very motivating situation that I need to thrive more specifically. And I took it on, and I took it on fast. I took it on heavy. I didn't really, start from the shoreline. I jumped into shark-infested waters, quite literally. So it was very, I guess, for some would be a very perplexing journey. And for me, it was very me. It was a very a normal thing for me to do. And if anyone that knows anything about me, I would rather just jump in head first and deal with the consequences. And the consequences are usually just pertain to me, you know, bigger challenges, bigger things to be up against, more situations to have to face that might be, you know, self-debilitating. And there's a part of like the pain that I kind of enjoy. I don't know how to say that, but I think that that comes with the journey. I mean, there's nothing that has more rejection other than I think the actors and actresses I know that go out and they have like 99% of rejection from all the auditions that do in poker.
Right.
Because
Well, it's sort of like you play on these big games, Hustler Live, you play on, you know, you've gone to the lodge, you go to these places, right? And you're playing and doing this, and it's like to play $2, $5 versus playing these high stakes, like you said, you got to kind of feel it, right? Like to feel the pain or to make mistakes or be put in the spotlight. It's different when you're playing under the bright lights, and it means a lot, right? It feels different.
So you actually mentioned a good point. So, I mean, one of the main points really is that, like, how was I able to financially do it? It's because I had this career from a very lucrative industry, and I had built up the bankroll to be able to jump in. So for me, like the element, I wasn't coming as like these younger 20-year-olds or whatever that have to like build their bankroll to jump in and like to really like establish their status in the world of poker, to finally be sitting at these high roller tables. I was able to do that financially. And the beauty of poker is that you can kind of jump in at any point as long as you have the bank to do it, or you're willing to sacrifice everything.
It is tricky though, right? It is tricky because it's like you know, having 10 years, 5 years, 20 years of experience and sort of getting to feel the ups and downs, then to just sort of dive into the top games. It is, you know, you grow up fast, right? You're learning a lot, and it can sting for sure. So
it takes a certain type of person to want to do that and another type of person to be able to do that. So I was kind of both. And I mean, I think you have to know a person and their personality to understand just anybody who wants to play poker. I mean, you see a big, there's a big similarities between like people that jumped into the world of crypto and poker, because it's like a high risk threshold, right? So that personality is also always like something that's really, really evident when you play with poker players. They're risk takers.
Yeah, it's true.
There's people that I know that make 10 times as much money as I do that wouldn't ever even feel comfortable sitting at a 5-10 table.
Right.
And it's not because they don't have the bankroll, but they just don't have that. They're just more risk averse than the typical.
I say this all the time about poker. I think, again, whether you're winning or losing, like let's just say in the last 1 year since you started, if you were to say honestly what your total P&L is, like it doesn't actually really matter. There's so much, you meet so many interesting people, you learn so much about life. Like Bill Perkins, one of my closest friends who I like to mention a lot, like too, that he'll tell you he's gotten pretty damn good at poker, right? Recently, and put a lot of time into it. But even over the course of, let's say, the first 5-10 years of him playing, where he's down money, like he's met some of the most interesting people in the world. He might actually be net profitable, right? Just off of relationships, learning, growing from the game, and what you learn about yourself and others. Like it's an interesting thing. I think that's something that gets lost in all of it. Like people are, oh, how much are you up or down? It's like, well, maybe you made an investment that you wouldn't have made, or maybe you got an opportunity you wouldn't have got, or maybe you just made some great friendships that you wouldn't make. And a lot of my closest friends are from the poker table, whether I met them directly from poker, indirectly through poker as well, which is invaluable. And again, like you said, different type of personalities, right? It's hard to find this type of people that have this type of risk tolerance and are able to handle swings well. So yeah, I think it's a beautiful game, and I think that people get lost a lot in the actual like wanting to know what's your result or not, right? Like it doesn't necessarily matter even.
You actually make an excellent point. Like this is one of those like games or activities where a NASA scientist can literally be sitting with like an Olympic swimmer. We saw that even happen at like the World Series of Poker main event. In what situation would you ever have that opportunity to be sitting with these people that have a like-minded hobby or interest as you do, but a completely different life? That's like the best part about it, is that you can really network and grow, depending on what you want to do in your life, a group of friendships that would have never otherwise been possible. Because it's not like physical stamina, it's mental stamina. So a lot more personalities and different type of people can be sitting at this.
It's funny you say that. The Olympic swimmer thing. So Michael Phelps, who I lived with for 8 years, I met him at a poker table in 2006 and in Windsor, Canada. And I was like, we're like 18 years old. And, he became one of my best friends in the world. But it's just like, it's funny. Like you said, you can't compete with LeBron James, or, you're not going to go play basketball with Jordan. But yeah, at a poker table, you can talk, you can win, you can lose, you could be out skilled or matched. You still have that ability to win, and also just sort of like common ground, different actors, actresses, physicists,
Totally.
scientists.
I'm even thinking about like the people I play with. I mean, it ranges from like UFC fighters to like actors to physicists, like
to
somebody.
But that's what's so cool, because it's like you find the common ground of what you like. You like the skill, the luck, the adventure, the highs, the lows, and dealing with it. It's like life in a metaphor at the poker table with that you see variance and you see crazy things. And I think it just prepares you a lot more for a bad day or a bad week or a bad thing, or, oh, the stock market's down 60%. You're like, all right, yeah, I mean, I took a 1-outer yesterday for whatever. And like, it can happen. It's real. And that's life. Where some people I think are shocked, like when bad things happen, or, you know what I mean? Or they have a really good thing happen. They win the lottery or something like that, some kind of in between. They don't know how to handle the highs and lows. So I think we kind of get it. Why we love poker, this wild club that we are in, and the people we know, it is fun. And it's cool.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I have a growing love for it. I think that when that whole Jack 4 hand happened, there was like this like growing loom over like, what am I going to do? And I just realized very, very quickly that it wasn't going to hinder my love for the game. And it was really eye-opening for me, because I thought like that would be it. I really thought that would be it. And it's just like, I follow this like principle of like stoicism, which is like, the more restraint you show, the more self-growth that you have, this more level of like superiority you have for yourself, where you don't let the opinions of others impede the joy you have in life, right? Because if I allowed the opinions of others and their perspectives of what happened keep me from doing what I love, I mean, I'm just taking away from human nature of a person that I am. And really, what good does that do anybody? The only person that does any good is maybe some level of satisfaction that comes from somebody being able to influence your life. And an interesting point also about like the journey of like being finally able to be sitting with these different personality types. People think that you need to be really good at something. I got one of the let me say more specifically, one of the more perplexing and disturbing comments that I would see, and I still even saw a few when I was like posting some of my videos from World Series of Poker, where I'm like, just talking about my journey of like bad beats and like what I dealt with, and like maybe a move I made on the table that I wasn't too proud with. And it's like, just like a comment or two about like, you should just stop playing poker, Robbi. You're really bad at it. And it was one I always think about those comments, because I'm like, isn't it amazing that somebody thinks that the only reason you should do something is if you're good at it? I mean, who is to say that you actually have to be good at doing what you love? Like, do I have to be in contention for the Olympics to be a really good, to want to swim? Does my artwork have to be sellable for me to enjoy drawing and doing art and painting?
Yeah.
Like, to say that you have to be good at something in order to do it is one of the most hindering comments that anybody can make about like having joy in your life just by, turns out I don't have to actually be good at poker to enjoy doing it. I don't even think I'm a great poker player. I really honestly do feel that I'm very far from being the greatest poker player in the world.
To be fair, you're brand new, right? You're like,
and I'm brand new. My focus is not to be the best poker player. I don't think I am the greatest. I love playing it, but I will say that I do know how to make money playing poker. And when I say that, it's a lot to do with who are you sitting with at the table? Who are you going to have partnerships with? How are you going to meet these people that can help you develop an idea, a brand? What kind of collaborations can you make with these people that are more like-minded on a poker setting? But now that you've been able to develop this like more friendship and relationship with, like I'm not making money from poker, but I'm making money playing poker.
But also it's a valid point about being what's the word? Being realistic with your surroundings and being aware too, right? Like this conversation about you could be the 9th or 8th best poker player in the world. If you're playing with the other 7 best players all the time, it's not a really smart thing. If you're the 10,000th best player in the world, but you're the best player in your home game or at your casino or where you're playing, that's relative. And that's also, it's important to be realistic with yourself, right? A lot of people have a lot of ego in poker and want to believe this, or it's amazing. I have so many people I know that like will play the best few players, whether it's an online game or something. They just like, they want to, like, they know they're it's not a great spot, but they want, it's okay to test yourself or be realistic. But if you're being naive to it and not aware, and if you have an opportunity to play in a better spot and your goal is to make money, that should be one of the major factors you do. But, again, it's all relative. And I think that's, as long as, exactly. Same thing with me. Like I do the GG Millions every week. You were just a guest yesterday. We had a lot of fun. do I think I'm a good poker player? Yeah, I think I'm a good poker player. I've been playing 20 years. Am I doing PO Solver? Do I know that when I watch, when I'm doing Triton commentary and I'm watching, Fedor and Bonomo and Adamo and, I can name 100 Jason Coons, like, do I think that I'm going to go into a 25K tournament and be beating these guys or having an edge? No, but like, do I think I could win? Yeah. And do I know what's going on? Pretty much. But like, there is a level, like in PGA, there's a level. There's a reason there's professional golfers that shoot, 20 under, 15 under. And there's guys that are, playing a different tour that are shooting 1 under, 2 under. It's a huge difference, right? And that's the cool part about poker. That there's so much room to improve. And like golf, to go from a plus 20 handicap where you're shooting 90s, right, versus shooting 75, to go from 75 to 72 scratch, it's like impossible. And it's the same thing in poker, to be like the top 3% to get to 1% or the top bet, it's very tough, right? Like but to go from you starting in the pandemic and teaching your relatives how to play, that what beats what, to like where you are now, like you've say you shoot like 110 in a golf analogy, and now you're shooting in the 80s or something, like that's, it's impressive and it's fun. And there's still a lot of, you can always improve, right? There's always stuff you can do. There's always time you can put in. You can always talk to people. And that's what's cool about the game, right? Like even the best, they're always getting better. And the game changes. Like the stuff I see now from 6 months ago, doing the biggest, the 10K every week, the final table, like the sizings are different. The thought process is different. The big blind play is different, like the blind on blind game changes. So it's always like kind of evolving too. So it's cool. And there's not just one way to play, which is nice too. It's not chess or backgammon where there's like an exact move.
More fun. Yeah. But I will say, like, it's so interesting. I was talking to one of my buddies from New York like 2 days ago, and he's like, who are these people that keep winning poker tournaments? Like, where do they come from? Like, how do they exist? And I have the same idea when I look at other things. I'm like, who are these people that keep getting hole-in-ones? Like, that's downright impossible. But there is a trend among those that are just better than others. And it feels like almost like impossible. Like, is it really skill that you made that hole-in-one, or is it like, did you just get,
yeah, but it's we talked about too yesterday. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. That quote, and it's sort of like if you put yourself, know what to do, and you put yourself deep. When you make a lot of final tables, Stevie Chidwick runs the Fedor Holtz, Dan Coleman's, these guys that go on these like sun runs where you just like feel like they can't lose a hand. It is wild, but they're also just prepared, and then they put themselves in the right spot, and then they get
lucky. And like, yeah, you're right. It's like it is a perfect storm. And so like kind of like the Jack forehand, like if one of those things didn't happen, it wouldn't be as exciting of a hand. Like if I wasn't sitting at the table with those particular people, with all the eyes on the game at that particular night, with that, I wasn't up against that particular player. It wasn't as weird of a hand. I didn't make the certain call that I did. It wasn't like he didn't get up and make this drama, and I didn't finally admit to something. And then the what's that guy that took the money off my thing, chips off my thing, didn't do that. Like the perfect storm and then like if Phil Ivey wasn't sitting there, the perfect storm of events had to happen in that one particular moment at that time for it to blow up as it did.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if I just folded after if I folded, then it wouldn't be anywhere. Right?
Yeah. Or how about this? How about if you just chop the pot? What if you win the first board in the second, and now it's like talked about and crazy, but maybe it just gets blown over. So like all these little like crazy events have to happen for it to be like that. Yeah. It's it is wild.
That's a lot of like how a lot of these, I think, but of course for them, like they continue to do which is try to be the best at the game. Then it's met with like this opportunity to be able to express themselves in a certain way. And then like the really big luck factor is if they do even hit is like the constant hits, like back to back, right? Like the way you see like Chance Cornet, really doing really well at this World Series of Poker. And then you have like seen Negreanu in the last year. He did really well this year, but last year just like never getting any of those hits. Like it's crazy. Like they're both exceptional players, but for one, they were able to get there this particular year. And so poker, like life, is a lot about perseverance. You have to keep doing it. And for some people, they just get it in the beginning. And for others, they get it in the end. And for some people, they just don't have the bandwidth and the stamina to keep doing it until they see that level of success that makes them feel good enough to continue. Yeah. And that's just life. And so like, even in the perfect storm scenario, right? Like, I mean, it was a perfect storm, but the way that I almost like kind of deal with what happened and keeps you going is, for me, I think about it as something that needed to happen, whether it was for the poker community, whether it was for just life in general. And for me, I felt like the way that I've been able to persevere and keep going is I feel like that situation needed to happen because a lot has changed since it. I think even within the poker community, just conversations surrounding security, just conversations surrounding the way that we treat others. Like we recognize now more than anything that poker has a lot of stress factors that change personalities and thoughts. It's a highly egotistical game. And we all exhibit ego in some way, right? That was an egotistical response. My call was an egotistical call. We exhibit different personalities, but there's a lot of stress factors in poker, financial, personal, and
being under the camera as well. Like, it's one thing to play a private home game. It's another when like you get put in a spot or it's kind of crazy. And then you're like on TV. You also know you can see the cards, right? If you do fold, you'll know what he has or she has. Like, this type of dynamic is very interesting, even in tournaments, like at the World Series, as you get deep and like the feature tables, it adds a dynamic. Like, you don't want to get bluffed or you get to see, so maybe you fold. So like, it's super interesting. Like, this adds a definite element to it. And you're playing for high stakes. And, how many views has this video got? Millions and millions. And, again, like the moment it might feel terrible because you're getting accused of something, but now listen, I was in Austin. I remember when it happened. I think it was ACL. So was this October? Must have been last year, right? Is that when it was? I believe, or maybe it was like somewhere in that time, but I was with Bill Perkins. We were at ACL and Joey Ingram was on the phone and they were putting a bounty. He was on a live call with Joey offering people like $250,000 or some crazy number to find evidence. Like, if someone was cheating and like you're a part of it, like someone's taking money off your stack or someone in the thing, a guy in blue, like someone's going to say something and grab the money and go move to an island and leave for $250,000. So like all these things are happening. Bounties are getting put out. I mean, it got wild. Like, I remember where I was and yeah.
And like, I saw some of the comments coming through yesterday and they made me laugh because I knew that was going to happen. Like, cheater, why do you have this cheater on? That's always going to be there. And there's some people that there's always going to be a dark cloud, I think, over this whole situation. But look, I'm not here to appeal to everybody, and I was never going to be able to do that, regardless of whether that happened or not. That's not my point. I think, short of Mother Teresa, I don't know anybody that's been able to gain the acceptance of all others, and even her, I'm sure, had a few enemies.
Yeah.
For me, like when I see this comes in, I know they're going to come through and be what they are. Like, I hate talking about the hand over and over again, but like, who wouldn't take a $250,000 bounty?
That was to me one of the most. I was there because I saw there was offered from Bill and Joey and the whole thing. And I was just like, yeah, this is like, if this stays, you can't keep a secret with more than one person, two people, and like now there's like whatever. It just all that as well. There's all these different pieces of evidence that make it to me, where I was just kind of observing and it was interesting. Everyone was talking about it. People who don't really play poker were asking me about it. Everyone wanted to know, what do you think? And all this. And I'm just like, I don't know. The whole thing is wild, but like that to me was like a big.
I still think it's wild. I have like an out of body moment where I'm like, I can't believe I made that call. Like, what made me? Did something else enter into my soul and make me make that call? But it was like and it happened so much faster. And I always say this than it appears. Maybe like, you don't have time to think that much, like I knew that I had to some degree, like make a decision finally. And I just remember being like, but I've been like that. Sometimes I just like do something crazy and I can't really explain why I did it or what the purpose or point behind that was, or what motivated me to make that call. But for me to just sit there and think about that very like small instance and like why I did it, like it has to be a release to just let it go. And I remember hearing about that bounty and being relieved. I was like, yes, now everyone will know, because I knew 100% nobody was going to come out because nobody else was involved in my brain. And I was like so relieved. I'm like, now everyone will see because no one's going to come forward with a bounty. And they didn't. And it's wild that some people still think something was up. So you're always going to have those people that no matter, it could just be laid out in front of you. There could be an alien standing in front of you, and aliens don't exist. So, it's a government guy in a costume. It's like Men in Black or something.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like I don't actually, Garrett's someone I don't know. I've never got to know him. Just, he's in LA, plays cash games there, would never cross paths, but like, he's just one of those like buttoned up, he hits the cold plunge, eats well, takes care of himself. Everyone kind of respects him. And he's like, kind of, he just like, seems like from what I can see, I'm like, wow, it's a great, he looks like a great guy. And that whole thing just kind of got crazy. And it just was like, it was heavy, like the whole thing was heavy. And it just like, I think it was net huge positive for poker. Look, even ClubGG, you're on their advertisement, right? That's the hand they use for the ClubGG, which is our sponsor on the podcast. And, like, that was one of my questions. Do you subscribe to the belief that all publicity is good publicity or something's not? Because it just feels like, in a way, you even want like a GPI award, people, there's a lot of opportunities, and you sort of like accelerated in the poker world. Now there's not a lot of females. So you put yourself out there, you're playing high stakes, you're personable. So you have a lot of things, but it definitely like accelerated everything. And how do you feel about that statement with publicity?
So, I've said this so many times. Everyone's like, oh, like the people that had this notion that I made that move or that call to be famous or whatnot, which is insane. I live in LA. It's easy to be famous here, but you could do many other things to be more famous here, more outlandish things that are much easier paths. It's one that was already a crazy thought to me. And then when I actually decided to come out and kind of like embrace it, I also got that like, see, she wanted it. But at the end of the day, what choice did I have? Was I going to sit at my home and like hide in my little burrows and just not be myself anymore to prove to the world that I didn't do it for fame? Or was I remember the first time I was at an ATM and Matt Savage had asked me to come out to WPT. He's like, Robbi, come to 5 Diamond, I think was happening at Bellagio. I'm like, I don't know if I can come out yet. Like, I don't feel comfortable. He's like, no, come out. Like, it's time for you to come out and start playing poker again, you know? And I was at the ATM and somebody came running up to me and was like, can I get a photo with you? And I'd already said no to a couple of people walking up there. I was like, no, like, I don't know. I didn't know how to deal with that. And it was a woman and she follows me too, but, and I followed her back and everything. And I just remember being like, I got to remember her name so I can give her some credit. But she was just like, my boyfriend plays and he said he's like played with you before. And I never even cared about it until I saw that hand. And now I'm like begging him to teach me how to play, because the fact that you were able to do that and stand up for yourself, like you literally inspired me to want to play, because before I was too scared to play with a bunch of men. Yeah. And I just remember being like, wow, like and I was like, she's like, can I please have a photo with you? And like, I was like, absolutely. And that was like the first photo where I'm like, screw it. I'm just going to embrace the fuck out of it. I mean, it got a little disruptive, you know, it gets disruptive at times, depending on how, like where I'm seated and stuff, for people to come by and like take photos.
For sure.
Like, yeah, sure. Come take a photo with me. I don't care, because at this point, like if I can even influence people from something really negative that occurred to me, and maybe ultimately it wasn't negative in hindsight, but why not? Like, why not bring joy to other people's lives, get them more motivated to do something? I'm continuing to play poker. So why would I not contribute and to the growth of it, and to like allowing others to also love and prosper, or feel like they can prosper, at least have the opportunity and choice to be able to sit at a table and be able to do it. Like, nobody can tell you that you can't play, right? I mean, no matter what. So I now I thrive, and I've embraced it. The idea that you mentioned, where like, and it's like, it's a common thing, especially here in Hollywood, right? Where people say like all publicity is good publicity. For me, like I feel like the people that generally say that are all about bad publicity. So it's hard for me to say that I'm a strong believer of that, because that's like, you know, like,
it's a very cliche statement. I'm just kidding.
Like,
like,
screw it, sex video or a gold medal, like it's publicity. Like, I don't feel that way, but I do feel like if a public situation happens to somebody, and there's not many people that can that have experienced what I have experienced, or some kind of public scandal, that if it does happen to you, there is a way to turn that more positive. And instead of hiding and not allowing yourself to grow from that opportunity that was gonna happen, you know, that you had no control over. So I had no control over what happened to me, right? What I can do is take what was negative, I guess, publicity, and turn it more positive. And in that sense, yes, you can say that that level, any publicity can be in turn into a positive thing.
Yeah, and that's I'm going to ask you. It's going to lead me to my next question, but a similar type thing happened to me in 2017, where I had streamed on Twitch for like a full year. I was enjoying it. I got into the idea. Jamie Staples was telling me, you got to have a YouTube channel. I realized like how much, that was a wholly different sector. A lot of people that aren't on Twitch do have YouTube, and I sort of got that. And I was like, it's fun for me. It's like a fancy way of journaling, to go to the World Series, like the Negreanu type thing, doing the videos, the vlogs, all that. But I remember one day, like the first week I was doing it, it was like 2017, had no idea what I was doing. It was like July or June of 2017. And so I'm there, I got a video camera, I'm at the table, and a guy comes up to me and is like all excited and like coming up to me. I'm like thinking he's gonna be like, yeah, I love your Twitch show or whatever. And he's like, you know Doug Polk? And I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, I know Doug, like, he's like, yeah, that's why I'm here. He was like, he's like, this was, 2017. He must have either, I forget, he had streamed some too, or he had done some YouTube stuff, but at this time, and he was just like, the reason he came from California, he's like, I haven't played poker in 4 years or 5 years, but like, I just love that guy. He was like all about this guy. And I thought he was gonna come and say like my stuff. And I had never vlogged before, but he didn't know who I was. And he was just like, but that made me realize, I was like, wow, how powerful poker content is for people, like this type of stuff with you, or Doug's podcast, or his show and what he does for poker, or Phil Galfond or Matt Berkey, or you can name 100 different people that are doing courses, content it matters. Like it could be 100 people or 10 people, but people see it and they like it, or they resonate with them and they watch it, and you know what I mean? So it's very important. Like that is the type of stuff the industry shifted. It used to be in 2006, 7, 8. How many tournaments have you won? Yeah, he's got all these super poker people that's the sponsorships and the deals were talent, like people that were winning events and such. And then it really shifted. Kevin Martin, very talented, also at GG, does a great job, high-end production. But there was a moment, he's a great player now, but a while where he was just like, didn't know how to play, was one big brother, comes on. And I remember when he got to deal with Poker Stars, there's people in outrage. They were like, how can this guy be sponsored? He doesn't know how to play, like this and that. And like all, it was like negative.
Phenomenal. And he's a phenomenal player.
He's gotten great. But that is my point, like that journey and the rise, and it's fun. And then like the interesting part is, that the content piece is you're sacrificing a lot to do it, right? Like you're taking time, the production, the video, the editors, all these things. And I think there's a big shift where it's sort of like the great poker players were for a while were judgmental and thought it was, they didn't like it. And they were like, man, like, why is this person getting any attention? Like, I'm a much better player. And then they realize, like, wow, like they're bringing people to the game. We're able to, we're making money or more. The games are more plentiful and we're, doing this part of it. So I think it's more of like a symbiotic thing. And now you even see the great players that are starting to dive into the content side, or the Ape Styles that are streaming too, or Negreanu going out of his way to do content, and different players. So I think it's becoming more, it's such a critical part. And I think you could argue that's one of the reasons why are the WPTs record fields? Why was the WSOP online? GG's doing $200 million guarantees. There's 33 bracelet events right now, record fields online, record fields live. APT is in Korea. There's tournaments every week. I mean, honestly, you could travel the world and not even be able, there's overlap like between all the tournaments now. There's so many, and they're setting records, and it's pretty exciting. Like I feel poker is in its best place.
And it's like amazing to think about this, because like, look, I have mad respect for those that were early adopters into the whole, like, how do we make poker more mainstream? But give a good example of Kevin Martin. So, I mean, newsflash, most poker players aren't GTO wizards that have been doing it for 25 plus years.
Right.
So you have to know your audience. If we want to grow this like hobby sport game, whatever you want to call it, the only way to do it is to familiarize yourself with your audience. Know your audience. Your audience isn't the typical GTO wizard. They don't care to hear from the extra pros telling them that the only way they're going to be good is to be 20 years into this. And no, they want to hear about like the lighthearted approach, entertaining factor, like personal experiences that your typical guy and a girl that goes into poker and jumps into experiences. Everybody that we want playing hasn't been there before, right? They haven't come to the World Series of Poker yet. So why would they want to hear about someone's experience that's been there for the 10th year? They want to hear about someone's experience that's sitting for the first time with this particular player that felt like they didn't belong, but they got to meet this person that is like walking in, and what are their feelings, their thoughts, their experientions. They want to hear from people that are more connected to like the online community, like Twitching and streaming. They want to hear about like the world that revolves around poker. The beautiful thing about all of these like tours that are happening, and I've been to like multiple ones since the hand and even before the hand happened, because I love my WPTs, WSOPs, and anything related to that around the world, and hope to be in Triton next year. But like the beauty of that is that you don't actually have to be the best poker player to go to those. You can go, you can film, you can be a part of it. You can talk about your experiences being around these players, and then gradually work your way and your comfort level back into it. Like for me, I'm crazy and I'm like in a 25K in the Bahamas. I don't know why I'm sitting there, but I'm doing it because like I just decided first foremost that that's how I was going to do it. That's how I'm going to learn. I'm part of all of these sites. I was sitting in the Hard Rock Seminole like hotel, 2 weeks ago. It was like their 5K.
Yeah, there's great, like three or four great series a
so
year.
I'm sitting here and I was like talking to someone there. They kept asking me, like, what should I like, Robbi, can you tell my girlfriend who's interested where can she learn how to play poker? I'm like, and I just wanted to be like, are you kidding me? Like, here are all the training sites. If she needs my username and password, here are all I'm part of all of them. I'm literally part of every single training site. And it's just what I feel like logging on and learning. I mean, from all of like the solvers and everything, they're all out there. They're very readily available. Some are free, some are more advanced.
Well, that's the cool part. There's like you mentioned about a new beginner is going to want to see maybe a beginner or sort of a beginner. It's like there's something for everyone. Maybe your styles, raise your edge, or maybe it's this way, or you like the GTO style of this club or Doug's site, or there's 10 different training sites that are world class. And like, it honestly doesn't really matter, right? If you start like which one you choose, because it's more like what's your style, whether, how you like the instructor, how they do it, how they present it. And there's multiple ways to learn. So it's great. There's a ton of options.
And like, even like, and if you don't want to even be on a site, like go on Twitter. I was like, even told like Phil Gelfand has wonderful posts regularly that can really help you kind of understand.
There's a lot of free info.
I mean, there's a lot of free info out there. And if they want to see the journey of what it's like to be at the World Series of Poker, if you have questions, follow Daniel Negreanu and his whole GG poker journey. That was one of the most like thrilling things to watch for me.
Yeah, no, he's got his vlog is unreal. It's really like high production,
and entertaining, and he is a world-class poker player. But you actually don't have to be to journey your process when you go out to play poker. So for me, I decided to bring that out to the world. You do it regularly, of course. Like everyone has like their little contribution to kind of growing it. And it doesn't have to be like everyone else's. Like we all bring some different element to it. So, as much as people think that they feel that I belong or do not belong at the table with these players, there is a group of people, believe it or not, that follow me and support me and reach out to me and are only interested because of what I've been through, and because they recognize that there is a chance for this recreational player to come in and be part of like this world headstrong and jump right into it. And they want to see what that's like. So there's a group for everyone. There's an audience for every poker player that's willing and able to just share their process and their journey with everyone if they're willing to do it. Like Justin Bonham was a very secretive person. He's making multi-millions, doing his thing, winning tournaments, sitting at the computer, playing online, whatever he's doing. He doesn't, for him, it's not about like, sometimes he does it, but like there are people that don't do it. They don't do it, right? They're phenomenal players. They're not out there sharing their journey. And we look up to these people, and that's great. But there's this whole group of other people that are willing to share that journey.
Yeah. It's personality type too. Some people don't want it. It's for different reasons, or it doesn't fit who they are.
There's an audience for it. There's an audience that wants to see us in our worlds because it's very foreign to them. It was foreign to me before I started. I'm just doing it so frequently now. Like I feel like the more you do it, of course, you feel like you've been doing it for a long time. But I can completely understand why people have no idea what this life looks like. And let's be real, it's a really crazy life. It's not normal. Like even my husband was saying, he's like, it's not normal that it literally, he's like, from my perspective, it looks like you're on vacation all the time. You're in the Bahamas, you're like in Miami and stuff. I was like, but do you know that like when I'm there, it's not like that. I don't even think I've seen the pool. I've barely seen the sun. Yeah. I'm like playing way too late into the night and getting up early and just like tilting. And like the time I see the sunlight is maybe if I take like a walk before I do a rebuy. Yeah. To kind of like engage. Like I don't even like see where I'm at. I'm not enjoying, but I am sometimes. Like when we were at the Bahamas, I did take some time, like at the WPT that just happened in February. Yeah, we took some time to go to the pool, have some fun and whatnot. But like it does feel like we're like living this really fun life, big vacation, but it's really serious for some. It's really a serious career path. And for others, it is kind of more fun and lighthearted. And then there's those that are just all about the social media aspect behind it. And so they're able to journey that really fun adventure that there's a lot of people sitting in middle America that'll never be able to do that, but they want to see the life that you live. So it's very much kind of like an influencer thing, unfortunately. But, like when you're in it, you don't realize that people don't get what that life looks like. Even like the private game life, like we can't really journey that process. I mean, phones aren't really like allowed to be in there, but wow, if people could really see what it looks like to live, breathe poker every day,
That's kind of the problem. Like there hasn't really ever been a great, Rounders is obviously a great movie, but to have like a sort of real behind the scenes, go to the game, because there's just too many people that are private or don't want to be on at all, or how, you know what I mean? And then there's legality potentially with stuff that's like gray. It's complicated, but yeah, it would be an amazing show to see like LA or Miami or New York home game, or Vegas, like the private life, the game scene and all that. It is fun. It is interesting. And And yeah, that would be must-see TV for sure.
I mean, it's unfortunate that a lot of the casinos don't allow any filming, and I can completely understand the rationale behind that. But you know, so you have to find the creative ways to kind of share that journey with others, and I think we're doing it. And I don't know if it's just me, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot has happened since the Jack Forehand, where I feel like more people are playing, more eyes are on the game, more people are interested, and I've already seen that like poker is growing. And it was interesting, and maybe it's just me again, but at the World Series of Poker that just happened a month and a half ago, I just felt like everybody was better. I'm like, did people just get better in 1 year? Like, why does it feel like everyone is really, really good all of a sudden?
I mean, I think that's the thing we were saying about the early analogy with golf. You know, it's like to go from 120 or like not having a score to going to like 90 or 70 or to 90 to 85, or let's say 150. I don't know how if you play golf, but like that analogy of being like really bad, but now your score is much better. Like to learn, okay, I'm not supposed to open ace-8 offsuit under the gun. You know what I mean? Like that type of learning is there's so much information that's free or simple to get. So I think that like initial, let's call it fishy, hopeless poker is sort of out the window in a way, or people are at least aware of like basic principles and concepts. So like that for sure. But then there's also so many new people that you still get some of that, mixed in. So it's still a good.
Well, look, the more people that play, the bigger the prize pools, right?
Yeah.
And more people that can also get paid out. So it kind of work. Like people are like, well, there's too many people that play. There's no chance of winning. That's not true. The prize pools are getting bigger, which means that more people will be able to get paid out.
Yeah.
And like even the people that were top of the game know that they have to continue to evolve with the game. Like, you know, Daniel Negreanu says that often. And you always see like Eric Seidel sitting at the table. He's always like, he's had a lot of successes here. These people are continuing to evolve and practice the way that like these newbies are learning it.
For sure. Well,
and then if everyone practices the same way, now you have to think of more creative methods to polarize their method of play. So then you see the creativity aspects. I mean, we saw it with Dave Peters at some of the moves he made yesterday. He's been very successful for a long time, but those are some like really unique, I think, moves that maybe we wouldn't have understood before, but like he has to make those interesting, unique moves.
The players that have withstood the test of time. You mentioned Seidel. You know, there's Antonio Esfandiari. He's obviously more family and slowed down from actual tournaments, but he's top of the game, plays the biggest games in the world. Daniel Negreanu, he's a guy as well. He kind of realized, right? Like he's great at reading. He's great at poker, but he accepted that the Bonomos, the Coons, the guys in the world that are newer, and there is all this information. He got in with MJ and Matt and started with the hybrid poker you may have heard of, and that's like one of his main products that he works with. I'm involved, Bill's involved, and he just was like, I gotta listen. I know if I'm not looking into this, and I'm gonna get left behind. He's obviously very smart and learned quickly, and sort of got that because he's great at the exploitative stuff, right? He realized I got to get up to speed on GTO, or I'm just going to be, lighting money on fire. And now, he's shown he's able to adapt and been the one of the best in the world. So yeah, it's super interesting to see. And again, as your point, you just have to keep working on stuff, right? That's the point.
And look, and you know what? It is the unique guys that come in that kind of like stir shit up, and you're like, what are they doing? But that's exciting. The beauty of it is that like, no, you can do, and I've said this often, like, you can make any call you need to make. No one should judge why you made the move that you made. It's your money, it's your bankroll, it's your life. It's like much like anything else in life. It's not going to hurt the other person. I mean, we all choose when we sit to sit at the poker table to be lied to. We all choose to have money taken away from us because that's the decision we made when we sat down, that we allowed others to be able to take our chips and take away our dignity, and we chose that. We chose to be lied to. We chose to be deceived. So again, like those that are risk averse aren't going to like the game. But this game isn't for everyone. But I think it is for a lot more people than are playing it. And the only way to open that up is to open our doors and to not let the opinions of others hinder our ability to be able to do that. So I'm going to have a group of people that are always going to think something negatively about me and tell me that I don't have a place here for whatever reasons they have. But I have even more people than anything that want me to be out there sharing my journey, my process, that want to come and play with me. And I welcome anybody to do that. I'm obviously on ClubGG. And so if I get a lot of comments like, Robbi, well, how can I play heads up with you? How can I play a game with you? Well, if we can't physically do it, and I have been trying to do like meetup games throughout the US, which have been very fun, come and reach out to me. Let's do it online on ClubGG, whatever it is. There are ways to play with everybody around the world, at least get them comfortable. And if people want to play with their their, whoever they look up to, your fans want to play with you, your supporters, whatever you want to call them,
for sure,
we'll be able to do that now that we are more connected virtually. And if they can't physically be there, we have so many good contests that are going out. Everyone's finding these methods and ways to get more players to make it.
Sorry, do you hear that in the background? Do you hear my son or no?
So joyful. I think it's the best music ever.
You hear him?
Come join us, little one.
Let me say hi on hot. Yeah. This is a big boy. Come here.
So cute.
I did say I'm taking you to the pool. I'm going to take you. Look at me. I'm live on a podcast. Say hi.
Oh, hi.
Say hi. Look.
Hi, what's your name?
No, I'm going to take you, big boy. But we got delayed. I'm going to take you. All right? I will take you to the pool. I promise. Okay?
Don't take me now.
I know, but we're going to go in a little. But did you wave, and then I can take you sooner? Can you wave? Not right now? Okay. But I will take you. 1 minute. I will. I promise you I'll take you. Sorry about that. This is supposed to be a fun hello moment, but that's a good example of poker and life and responsibilities, and things change a bit. But he was outraged. I am going to take him to the pool, but he's fired up.
You can be a family. Like the cool thing with poker, like Fraz Jaka travels the world with his family. I don't even know that they don't even have like a staple. He takes his son and his wife everywhere with him. But that's kind of what's cool about like poker too, is that if your family is willing to join you on that journey, you're able to make your own schedule, right? You can jump into, it's hard for women. I know that. And I think that might be a big part of why it's very unfortunate to see that the World Series of Poker had even less women this year than last year. And there's like a lot of conversation surrounding that. For me, I think it has to do, it's hard to be a mother, for one. And it's hard to not be able to know when you can come home, right? Is this going to be a 14-hour day or a 3-hour day? Like it's that part is a little bit more difficult, but in the cash world, I feel like women can definitely play. So we see a lot of like the live streams coming out. Like I just got asked to be in like an all women lineup or live stream, and I've taken a little break from the live stream world. I'll be back, guys. Don't worry. But I have seen that like that might be a bigger way to expand it. But what I will say is that I think we're going to see a lot more people playing. And the only way to really do that, just stemming off from our last point here, is to be more inviting of these more novice and, more amateur players to come sit with us at the table. And the only way we're also going to do that is to not be too arrogant about what it takes to be able to sit at a table with a player that's better than you. So if there's a couple things I think we can learn about, even like this last year, it's we want more people to play, right? So to kind of like take back, and I know I'm alluding to something like to show a little restraint and understand that we're a lot more fortunate than a lot of these players that aren't able to sit at the table with us. So it's really important to kind of be a little bit more humble about the outcomes of this game and to accept loss, as well as go ahead and be proud of your wins. But it's important to accept the losses and man up to situations that might be uncomfortable to you. Live stream came out to allow more people to watch poker, to be more engaged with poker, to be more interested in playing. So it's very unfortunate when an incident happens that makes people feel like they can't be a part of that world.
Yeah. No, my dad always said to me, he's like, lose is you like it and win is if you expect it. It's like, that's what we were saying earlier about tilt and stuff too. If someone's like banging the table and throwing cards and freaking out, like that's, there's probably some issues going on there, or they're playing way above their means. So, it's also when you win a hand, like it's okay to be happy, but like, rub it in people's face. It's important to be a good loser and a good winner. And I think that's something that you do see as you play in the higher stakes, and generally people are better, but I'm sure you're surprised, right? And there are antics and there's drinking involved and such at spots, and people lose their cool, or someone you think may be like a steady Eddie, just like no emotion or whatever, that, people do get upset or irritated, and that's part of it though. It's going to happen. That's part of the game.
Somebody, like, it's amazing. You can learn a lot about a person when you play poker with them, because all of those personality traits and like their response to losing, and like you've seen the people that chuck chips, and like somebody threw the chip dealer 2 nights ago, and I was like so amazed. And she's like, "Oh, you're so annoying." Like she obviously has dealt this player a lot of times. Yeah. And she's like, he's just like stop, like he's so abusive with his poker chips, like joking about it. And I'm like, that translates into his life. That is just who he is. I mean, it's not just poker for him. That's how he reacts to any adversity that happens to him on his daily renderings. So it says a lot about someone's character, the way that they respond. Yeah. Like, I don't really need to know that much about anyone. All I need to do is play 30 minutes with them.
It's, I mentioned golf a few times. I don't really golf. I've golfed some. I'm okay. I'm really not good actually, but it's fun. And that's like the most common saying I hear. People always would say this before poker was like, oh, you can learn a lot about someone when you golf, right? Same thing. Like, are you happy for their good shot? Are you hear about people cheating or dropping a ball or doing this stuff, or, you know what I mean? Like there's all this same thing. When you have a bad shot, are you throwing your club? Are you, how do you handle it? How do you handle success and failure? And I think poker is the best metaphor out of anything to be able to learn and deal with these type of things: adversity, success, failure, wins, losing in a very, vacuum situation in a short amount of time. I do want to ask about content for you. So you're playing on live streams. You've seen Twitch stuff. I know you play on GG some, right? When you get out of the country and you're able, there's a World Series events, 33 bracelets literally starting now, which is exciting. You can win.
I know.
But
it's for in the US, but we got to to do it. But luckily ClubGG is obviously available for that.
Yes. Content. I want to ask you: streaming, YouTube videos, Negranu type vlogs, Kevin Martin. These guys are like. Do you see yourself streaming on Twitch or doing YouTube content? Is that something you would do, or you just like playing high stakes live?
I actually have my team in place, ready to go. I have like my setups, like my hookups going and stuff. And like I've been doing a lot of like the videos myself. It's really hard to like self edit. You definitely need to hire somebody for that. I have a very good video content creator that is doing that with me. Yep. And I am going to journey my process in my life. For me though, when I did first start doing that, and people were like, why haven't you done that already? And I just didn't. And even now, and I have to like get over that mindset. I'm like, why do people care about my life? I mean, it was one of those things where it's like really hard for me to understand why anybody cares. But for everyone's like, stop thinking about it like that. It's interesting to see the way somebody else lives, especially after the stuff that I overcame. So like, where am I going from here? Content creating is a big part of that. I do want to share my world with the outside world. I found that to be a really like exhilarating and kind of like nice release when I shared my ups and downs during my tournament journey, especially more recently at the World Series of Poker. And so I want to continue that and share that with all of my supporters and anybody that's interested in watching, and not let any of like the negativity that might surround that, or like this perception of me wanting to like be famous, like hinder my process for wanting to share that. So I will 100% continue to do that. I am very heavily engaged in playing a lot of these private home games. I love the people I play with. I very much enjoy that. The networking aspect that comes with that as well is a big component of that. Online poker will remain a big element of what everybody does, and I think it will continue to grow. So I am working with partners and kind of growing that element of it with ClubGG as well. But also for me, the live aspect, I think, is how we're going to get more eyes on us for now. And so content creating is one. And where I'm going from now, as far as like what's next, there's a documentary, I think I've mentioned that is coming out, but more so, there's an even bigger documentary coming out. So there's going to be a lot of filming extensively. Unfortunately, you might have to include some friends and family, which isn't ideal. And it's like, do people really care about my story? But it's a story to be told. It's going to be a large part of the poker story of the decade, maybe even the century.
Is this an exclusive? Are we hearing this for the first time, or have you? Is this something you've talked about a little bit, or can you give what can you actually like timeline wise, or where it is?
The first time on this podcast, but yeah. Huge production company, will be on a very big network, and it will be the first time you see me and Garrett on a video together. So not sitting next to each other. That was one thing I specifically asked I wouldn't be okay with. Look, I have my certain reservations about him, but again, I do believe on this method of stoicism, which is that I am not going to delve into the negativity, and I have shown a lot of restraint as far as my opinions surrounding the matter. He has had his moments of being vocal on Doug Polk's podcast or whatnot, but I don't know if that's a focus of what the documentary is going to be about. It's going to be more so our journeys in life post hand. And I think it'll be interesting to see where we both went from here, how we overcame adversity, or if one of us did and the other didn't. And they're going to obviously have their own angle, but it'll be the first time you see us both, I guess, in one movie. It's going to be huge. It's going to be a big one. I reluctantly agreed to do it. I'm kind of tired of talking about the story, but I do hope it's going to be a huge element of what I'm doing now. And this is, and I've said this over and over again, I'm going to be very heavily involved in poker I am right now moving forward. I mean, this is part of my everyday life, and it's only made it more thrilling for me. The incident, there's parts of me that think that maybe the incident didn't do anything for my love of the game, but there's parts of me that do believe that I feel like I love it more since that happened, because now I feel like I have this level of responsibility to share what I went through, and also another level of responsibility because of my visibility and influence in the world to grow it. Because before the hand, I loved the game, and if I can make it more interesting for others to play it, then I can play with them. And the game can continue to grow, and it can be a part of both financial success, personal happiness, and just like being able to like get paid for doing what you love is the absolute like ideal way to live, right? That's what we all want in life. And I think that poker allows that opportunity for everyone if they can really focus on it. And for me, I'm going to make it it's my focus right now. I am living and breathing poker and lifestyle.
We're winding down here. I want to ask you about any other games as well, like chess or backgammon. Alexandra Botez, very, very much into poker now. I actually was at the main event when we hit the money, and in day 4 of the World Series this year, and she actually took a sick beat, kings to king jack off on like an ace 2-5 flop, all in pre, ran out queen 10 to buster. It was disgusting. I had just got it in kings to aces like 5 minutes before, and I hit a king, I win, and I covered the guy, but I would have been really short. And then I watch her with like like an amazing spot and get like the sickest run out you could have. But like that type of stuff too, like she's huge for poker. She's a massive force in chess, and now she's playing poker as well. And that type, do you have interest in these type of games, chess, backgammon, any other?
So me and Alex, actually, we didn't mean to, we were like hanging out and stuff. And then she's kind of like, hey, do you want to go play some poker at Aria? And I'm like, oh my God, it's going to this is going to be crazy. And then so when we walked in, now everybody wanted to play with us, and we kind of did this like little meetup thing, and me and her ended up taking the table out. We had a great time playing. I actually I have content on that. I haven't even released it. So me and Alex have had a moment, and we really talked about this for a little bit, because her level of influence comes from the world of chess and her visibility through like her Twitch network and everything. But then she has this like absolutely growing love of poker that of course demands a lot of attention as far as like really studying the game. But when you're really good at chess, it does actually translate into the world of poker. And I've said this before, we all have life experiences when we come to the table that can actually help us contribute to the game and our success of playing at that very moment. So whether it's our ability to overcome any type of like adversity at the table, it's our experiences that we've had to deal with different personality types, and maybe any personal life experiences that we've also had that help us understand whether someone is bluffing, certain traits of individuals, reads on people. When you deal with more people in your life, you're able to read them a lot better. So for her, she's able to translate her success in chess and have a very successful path in poker, and it continues to grow, right? And for others, it's whatever their personal career paths are and their experiences are with other individuals that helps them be better at the game when they're sitting at the table. So I think we can all bring an element of what we've done prior in our lives, whether it's a different career and a different job, and translate that into the way that we play. So the beauty of that, when I think about games like chess, and I think about like these players that are interested, that are very well known for something else entirely, I am not surprised to see their level of success in the world of poker, because they're able to provide a different level of strength and a different level of like, I guess like.
Well, they're brilliant too, like how they're able to streamline it and market it and use it and do it with content and make it fun for people. Like, it's awesome. That's why I was hoping to hear you say that, like you're looking to do the YouTube stuff and sort of quick and dive in, because it is fun.
It's just like it's so surprising, because like when I think about like it always like hits me so deeply when I think about like being allowed to do something that you love, right? Like everyone should be permitted to do what they love and what they enjoy. And I think that what keeps us all from doing that is the world telling us that we're not good enough to be there and to be able to do that. So I think that there are certain people that have a level of influence and, like I said, visibility, and you do too, that do have this level of responsibility where they have to let the whole, like, their fan base and the world know that they're allowed, that you can come sit with us, come hang out with us. You're allowed to be there. You're just, you have just as much permission to be sitting at the table. So Alexandria is one of those. I fortunately or unfortunately, I think that my social media and creator and like all the content that I will be putting forth is a part of something that I need to do. It's something I should be doing. I think it's what people expect of me, but I found that I enjoy doing it. I do enjoy sharing the ups and downs of the path that I'm taking. There are parts though, and maybe like you've been there, where it's really hard, where you've just had like a really bad poker day, and I'm like, I still have to share that I had a bad day, right?
Yeah,
it's not always
that's important. It
is.
It's
not always going to be like
sunshine and roses,
cookies and marshmallows. It has to be, to some degree, be the realistic part of the game, which is that we see more loss than we do wins. We see more setbacks than we do achievements, but every element of it is growth, and it's really important to really document all of that. So Absolutely. I'll be there, and I'm really excited, and I want to share, and I want to play with everybody. I want the whole world that wants to play with me to get that opportunity to hop in a plane, get in a car, drive here, fly here, whatever it is. Yeah. And if we can also, like, open that opportunity for those that aren't able to do it financially, see how we can kind of like open like those doors and allow them to sit with us, because we do have the financial means to do that and the contests in place.
That is what's nice about ClubGG. There's a place to do that. I have my own private club for fun, which I've debated getting back in streaming, because I spend a lot more time in the US, have the second kid, but it is something I've thought about too, to do more of that, do some free roll, do some fun tournaments and play on there. I have that set up, and I know you're very much so looking to do that. And I think you have some, aspirations for ClubGG to work with, or have people that can just join and play with you and whatnot. So sure, we'll keep an eye out for that. My last question today, I guess Saudi Arabia, you were born there, you left at 5. I don't know if you feel strongly to the country ties. I want to know what you think about the Saudi Pro League, and just in general, Live Golf, kind of this sort of Saudi Arabia taking on the world of sports. Cristiano Ronaldo, comes there, putting like spectacle and building this league. All these huge names are coming to play. Do you have any thoughts on that? That's my last question today.
I invited to quite a bit there. So like, look, that world is a different world. We can't really compare it to anything. They have the money and the means to have influence over everyone else. So there are two sides, right? We see like this negative, like rule of everything. But one thing that I think that they've been doing really positively is they are allowing for all these different elements of sports to be able to be more accessible to a different side of the world that may not have experienced it. It is very glamorous, but they have the means to do it. So that money was staying in the royal family for so long, and it's finally able to kind of spread out, and they're recognizing that it can be put to other use. And I think they themselves are finding a higher level of interest in sports. And what else I've also seen with them is like this entertainment aspect that was very confined within that country. Even like just the treatment of women, there's big improvements in it. Right. But what it's allowing us is it is opening the doors for more eyes on these sports that they're now potentially like letting the whole world exhibit through the other side of the world. And again, the more people that watch, the more we're able to play, and the more people that can play, because there's more people watching, and therefore we need more players.
Yeah, I did say the initiative about that they want to make it their culture with like the youth to be more into it and sporty and stuff. I do feel there's a lot of good in that, and of course there's some crazy laws that we might think are crazy or different that they're sort of maybe shifting in the right direction, or it does bring awareness to, and probably for the best. And the last question, just a one word answer: Messi or Ronaldo? What's if you had to go? Do you follow soccer at all, or not really?
I do. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna go Ronaldo. I mean, I know everyone's gonna be like, oh, so typical to say Ronaldo, but like everyone's always talking about Messi lately, so I'm gonna go Ronaldo.
Yeah, he's Saudi Arabia right now. Messi's in Miami. It's my backyard. I played soccer in college. I love soccer, and it's so incredible what they're doing. They each just played a final in their new league, scored the goals in the game, and won the Golden Boots, and like they're 36, 38. basically like out the door, but they're still at the highest level. It's pretty cool. I mean, the game is
That's
beautiful.
cool. We actually have a soccer player that plays poker. Again, like so interesting that we're seeing like, like there are people that are so phenomenal at these sports that like they're sitting here at the poker tables with us.
Yeah.
Game.
They're competitive, want to compete and just be hang out and be normal and in their own right and be able to interact and gamble or have fun and all that. So listen, Robbi, I appreciate it so much. Thank you for the time. This was a pleasure. 2 days in a row, we did the GG Millions yesterday. You guys can watch that on the GG Poker YouTube channel if you want to see her analysis commentary. Got to hang out there. Of course, we learned a lot about you today. And follow you. Where can they follow you on the socials?
Yeah, for sure. You will see me. I will post when I'm ready to share even more with the world, but I will be there and I'm not going anywhere. I'm only going to be more in your face, whether you like it or not. So.
It looks like you got the website. You have a website people can follow you on.
I have my whole team of people. We're making things happen, Jeff. So proud to be doing this with you. I'm happy to be back on here. Happy to support anything that you've been doing. I love what you're doing. And I will say, like, one of the best ways, even for anybody that's new to learn poker content, is to really see the final table analysis. Like, I mean, wait and see that there's a commentator that you look up to. I know you've had Chance and you've had like Jungle Man and everybody. See the way that they perceive the hands, and it's beautiful to be able to see a final table and what everyone does. I mean, I learned a lot just by watching yesterday, but even before commentating it on it with you before yesterday, I remember like I was in Florida. I just watched like Michael Joseph's with you, and I was like, wow, that's really interesting the way that he perceives hands as well. So there is so much to be learned just by watching active poker. If the idea of learning it any alternative way might be boring for you,
Absolutely.
The best really is to see it live, and we're able to provide that for everybody to see. So I really commend you for being a huge part of the reason that I think that the online world as well as the live world is able to see active poker. So cool.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, like I said, I've gone through I did the streaming every day Twitch. I've done a lot of the vlog stuff. I'm more in daddy mode right now, but I still do that weekly show. Try to do the pod. I think this is literally. I'd have to look. It's been several months since I did a podcast, and I usually do 1 or 2 a week. So I needed a little break. You're the kickoff back, and also closing note. You are on the GG Ask Me Anything. Is that right? Tomorrow or soon?
So I am doing I think they did with Daniel Negreanu before Jamie Gold, and I am probably their third person. I will be running an AMA tomorrow that goes live. I got to check what time. I already see a lot of questions coming through, so put them in there. But I will be live on GG Poker's AMA tomorrow on Reddit. So ask me anything. I am willing to answer anything. So
I love it. That's awesome. That's fun. That's good. And we're going to capitalize on. Now that I know that specifically, we'll have a more exciting, different questions next time. We'll go a little crazier. Sure. But this was fun. We learned a lot. I really do appreciate the time. This is the number 188 podcast in the book for the Flow Show. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And I will see you very soon, I'm sure. Thank you.
Very soon. Okay. And enjoy your trip.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.